Hello, folks, in 93. It's Qesheth again. It's been a while. Yeah, it's been about 3 months. I said I was going to do this talk, and a lot of things came up, a lot of life events kept me away from the doing any talks in the last few months. I've been trying to get it together. It's not that I had to write the talk. The talk itself is based on a class that I did at Scarlet Woman Lodge in Austin, Texas in 2019. So the class is already written. Again, let me explain. I don't have the best technology. I'm using a board to explain this. I hope you can see it okay. Again, my name is Qesheth. I've been doing a series of talks on the tarot, the major arcana, and the paths of return, showing the path of initiation that is revealed within the major arcana of the tarot. And I promised after my last talk that I would do a talk on the I Ching, another oracle that I use. I use it with the tarot. These are my two major. Basically, in this talk, I'm going to try to do the best I can to summarize the use of the I Ching. It's a brief talk about its history, the trigrams, the hexagrams, and some the hexagrams, and just some basic methods that we will be using that you would use to use this oracle. We'll start out with some history. For more than 3,000 years, people have used the I Ching for both a book of magic and a book of wisdom. It permeates every aspect of Chinese culture, including feng shui, Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism. The I Ching is an ancient Chinese oracle dating all the way back to 2900 BCE. The earliest mention of it appears as far back as the Qia dynasty. Or the Cao dynasty. Now, my Chinese pronunciation is horrible, but it dates back to as far back as the Cao dynasty. The I Ching, which means Book of Changes, so I Ching means Book of Changes, is actually believed to be of pre-Chinese origin due to the fact that the names for the trigrams are not of Chinese origin. It is believed that it started out with just a two-lined oracle, yang and yin, used to retrieve yes and no answers. A third line was added later to make it a more useful oracle for a wider spectrum of inquiries. It was a device invented in ancient China or earlier for the purpose of discovering hidden links before they worked themselves out. It helps the individual to recognize situations in their germinal state. By partaking in the spiritual experience of the I Ching, the individual can understand the deeper patterns of the universe. It is written that the Emperor Fu Shu looked up to the sky and contemplated the mode of heaven. Then he looked down to the ground and examined the matters of earth. Thus did Fu Shu obtain the measure of all things. He is said to have written it during the ancient period of the 3 sovereigns and the 5 emperors. Legend has it that after encountering a mysterious dragon horse on the Yellow River, the early heaven sequence with trigrams was created. This is called the Bhagavad, but we'll get into that in a few minutes. He added a third line to the already existing 4 images, yin and yang cubed, or 2 cubed, hence 8. He was a semi-divine being, said to have taught the people how to breed silkworms, cultivation, writing, domestication of livestock, fishing with nets, hunting with weapons made from iron. He was a mythological figure with similar associations with Thoth, Osiris, Hermes, and many other Cultures throughout the world have stories of these god men or these highly enlightened men coming to the people to teach them. Osiris taught, the sowing of grain, agriculture, among many other things. Among the Aztecs, it was Quetzalcoatl who brought great knowledge to the people. And this goes back to the belief that there was once like an ancient city, maybe Atlantis, sunk into the sea. And the wise teachers of the enlightened masters there washed up in various parts of the world and brought high knowledge to the world. Because every culture in the world has this story, and I'm not going to go into all that of these god men or these enlightened men who come to their culture and teach them writing and cultivation of crops and various other things. I'm sorry, I'm getting his name wrong now. Bushu explains thus: the limitless produces the delimited, and this is the absolute. The absolute produces two forms, light and dark. The forms produce four phenomenon, named lesser yang and greater yang. The sun, or lesser yin and greater yin, the moon. The I Ching is an oracle that falls under the classification of kleromancy, the casting of lots as a means of divination. The most common ancient technique for reading the oracle were tortoise shells or bones. The shell or bones were heated in a fire and then cooled, producing a crack, which, if unbroken, was interpreted to be a yang line or a yin line if it was broken. An old sage once said, "To delight in heaven, to understand fate, the sage who reads it will see cosmological patterns and not despair in mere material difficulties." The I Ching is based on the Chinese philosophy of Wu Qi and Tai Chi. In the beginning, all was unmoved in a state of stasis. In Kabbalah, we know this as Ain. Then something happened to bring forth movement, and Wu Qi moved into a state of Tai Chi, movement. The ancient Chinese saw the universe, including the world in which we live, as governed by perpetual change, moving in an eternal circle from potential to actual and back. Does this sound familiar? The Kabbalah, the Tree of Life diagram that we had discussed in my previous talks on the Tarot, the Path of Return, manifestation, returning back into its source. So it's a continuous wheel. Okay. Events always contain a duality, a part changed and a part unchanged. And this is the philosophy of the HGA. Think about this. In the Hermetic system, this is the HGA is considered unchanged, unmoved by material events. It is the outer being that is moved and changed by outer events. Yang changed and yin unchanged. The Chinese word for change is yi. When written, it embodies the characters for sun and moon. Everything in the universe was directed by the unseen worlds, and that the visible was a reflection of the invisible. As a matter of fact, the concept of yin and yang are believed to have been introduced at a later date by Taoists. There were later schools of Yang Yin during the period between the Qin and Han dynasties, during which time the I Ching was seen as a book of magic. It is believed to work so well due to the fact that it replicates the binary patterns of DNA, which is the program in which all living things are formed. Yang, old yang, and yin and old yin replicate the amino acids combined into 3 trigrams with 8 possible permutations, expressing the unfolding of the universe using binary mathematics. This is the dynamic that produces life, hence the 64 codons of DNA. Exactly the same when written in yin and yang code language. So this is the dynamic that produces life. I'm sorry, I'm reading out of my notes. Hence the 64 codons of the DNA. Exactly the same when written in yin and yang code language. It is a template of the God particle. The other 3 men who greatly expounded upon the I Ching were the king Wen Wang and his son the Duke of Chao, and Confucius. King Wen Wang, 1150 BEC thereabouts, of the Zhao dynasty, who being so popular was thrown into jail by the emperor Chao Hsing. While incarcerated, he studied the oracle to become thoroughly conversant with the numinous and bright, to classify the myriad of things. Does that make sense to you? Think about the tree of life. What do we use it for? As a filing system for the universe. Uh, it's a filing system. And decided to improve upon it by adding additional trigrams, because he wanted a system that could be used for everyday affairs. So, the original one by Fushu was the movement of the heavens and their influence upon the material world. He wanted something, basically he wanted to get out of jail. So he wanted to use a system that he could use in everyday affairs. So he rearranged the trigrams on his chart, on his Bagua, and they're called the Bagwas. Okay? His changes were called the changes of Chao, the old name for the I Ching. He created the 8 trigrams, but most of the work was done later by his son Tang, who added interpretation for the additional lines. During this time, the I Ching became known as a divination manual. He added the attributions of the 5 elements. Those 5 elements are water, wood, fire, earth, and air. So each verse of the I Ching contains an overall interpretation by Wen Wang and an interpretation of the lines by his son, the Duke. King Wen Wang of the Zhao dynasty, 1000 to 750 BCE, explains, when the world began, there was heaven and earth. Okay? Heaven mated with earth and gave birth to everything in the world. The remaining trigrams are their sons and daughters. It was Confucius who transformed it into a cosmological text with additions of his commentaries called the 10 Wings. Confucius spent the last years of his life studying the I Ching, and he is reported as saying that if he had an additional 50 years of life, he would devote it to the study of the I Ching. Confucius described the I Ching as a microcosm of the universe and a symbolic description of the process of change. The I Ching has influenced Taoism and the art of feng shui. I don't know if anybody's ever worked with feng shui. I tend to arrange my property and my house based on based on the methods of feng shui, which is basically taking a bagua. And I've got a fly flying around in here. I'm going to get a fly swatter into his little existence. But anyway, you take one of these bagwas, and which is normally used with the Wen Wang bagua here, and you lay it north. This would face north of your home to the front door, I guess, and then each section of this bagua would be a different area of your life, and you arrange your home and the things and your furniture and stuff like that according to that, and in order to allow the proper flow of qi. Okay, in the last decade of the 12th century BCE, the I Ching has come down to us as complete. The I Ching was introduced to Europeans by Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz, a German mathematician who also wrote a commentary to the I Ching. He argued that the I Ching proved the universality of binary numbers. Crowley said the I Ching is mathematical and philosophical in form and structure. Okay, the I Ching is mathematical and philosophical in form. Its structure is cognate with that of the Kabbalah. The actual apparatus is simple, and 5 minutes is sufficient to obtain a fairly detailed answer. So this system, and I'll show you different systems for doing this, but it's easier to use than the tarot. I use it with the tarot in order to reaffirm maybe a certain, like if you're wanting a yes or no answer, a very quick answer. Sometimes the tarot is hard to interpret. Crowley said that the tarot was good for material, mundane affairs, and that the I Ching for spiritual affairs. He put the I Ching way up there in his list of. He believed it was governed by higher energies. And so he created his on his tree of life that can be found in the book of Thoth, and I'll show you this real quick. Here, can you see it okay? Let me get it up here. You can see where he attributes each one of the trigrams to a different sephira. The Tao is Ein Sof, Or, and then Kether is Tao Te, and then the Yang is Hakma, Yin is Binah. He has Kayin as the secret or hidden sephira, Da'ath, Tui, water, as Hesed, King, lightning, as Gabura, Li, the sun or fire, as Tippereth, Kin as Netzach, which is stillness or the mountain, Sun as Hod, is gentle air, Kon as Yesod, which is the abyss or the water, and Kun as Malkuth, which is the creative feminine, the receptive feminine. I don't know about mixing systems completely, but you know, some people do, and they're comfortable with that. But that's what he had rewrote in History of Life diagram. Crowley explains the Tao Ain concentrates on Kether as a point. The Tao directs itself with Hakma and becomes the male force. He is called Yang and is symbolized by a solid line. Tao expandeth in Bina to become the female force. She is called Yin and is symbolized by the broken line. These three, Tao, Yang, and Yin, bring forth heaven and earth and air contained therein. Crowley has a description of the hexagrams in book 777, and he has a holy book, Liber 27, the Trigrammaton, which I do recommend for study. I'm not going to go into that tonight, but I do recommend it. It's Liber number 27, the Trigrammaton, in which he does a complete explanation of how the I Ching in his system brings forth from Ain or nothingness to manifestation. Carl Jung says this about this oracle, that the way the I Ching works is through synchronicity, which takes the coincidence of events in space and time as meaning something more than mere chance, namely a peculiar interdependence of objective events among themselves as well as with the subjective states of the observer. Okay? So I'm going to explain the Bhagavas now. And again, like I said earlier, these are called Bhagavas. These are just systems by which the trigrams are written. And again, we have the older Bhagava and the newer one introduced by King Wen Wang. So the Bhagavas. This philosophy is mirrored in the Bhagavas, the trigrams being placed in a circular wheel formation representing the way things were seen to unfold. All changes originate in the ultimate. From the ultimate issue two spheres. Wait a minute. From the two spheres issues four elements, and from the four elements the four trigrams. There are two primary arrangements for the Bakwa, or trigrams. These are called the early heaven, like I said earlier, and the late heaven. Fushu was based on the movement of the heavens by placing the trigrams that are diametrically opposed opposite of each other, mirroring the actions or reactions of opposites in manifestation. Okay? So, and you see in his trigram, you see fire, water. So we know that that the material world itself is based on opposites. Everything has its opposite. You wouldn't exist if I didn't exist. We talked about that when I talked about the tarot. So it's this opposing forces of the opposites that keeps the wheel spinning like a magnet, okay? And so here you have thunder, wind. So his is based on, it's called the early heaven Bagua. Okay. So he explains it thus. Yin and yang consist of two natural, complementary, and contradicting force of any phenomenon. In our universe, the principle of opposite polarity and duality. All forces in the universe can be classified as yin or yang. The 8 areas balance through opposites and acceptance of change. The 8 cardinal directions are determined by the marker stars of the major constellations, known as the 4 animals. In the east, the blue-green dragon, spring; south, the red bird, summer; west, the white tiger, autumn; north, dark turtle, winter. King Wayne's was based on the movement of the material world. So his starts here and goes this way. And that's how you would read his. And this is the primary Bagua used in Feng Shui. Okay, so this is what he says. The ruler comes forth. Okay, so he says the ruler comes forth in King. Okay? With creation, he completes the work in Sun, or Sun. He causes things to see one another in Li, or Lai, and to serve one another in Kun. Rejoices in Tui, because Tui is the waters, and it's also joy, and battles in Kain, or Kayin. He is confronted and rests in Kan, and then finishes the work of the year in Kin. And this is called the mountain, stability, or rest. In Feng Shui, both arrangements are often used for different reasons. Early heaven for burials, and late heaven for residences for Feng Shui. Other arrangements, such as the Yellow River and the 9 halls arrangements, will not be discussed in this workshop. I mean, this is a pretty complex oracle, but let's keep it simple and don't overdo it. This is the primary information you'll need to work with this oracle. So in our discussion, we'll be using the later version, and that Bagua was called the Hutain, King Wenwang's or Duke Chao's version of the Bagua, which is most commonly used today. Okay. The concept of yin and yang are not to be understood in terms familiar to us. The two words are actually translated as yang, meaning banners waving in the sun, and yin, cloudy or overcast. So the answers in the I Ching are not necessarily yes or no, but are based on the ancient Chinese thought of change. So keep that in mind. The answers being more correctly interpreted as now or not now. The yang line being interpreted as an affirmative answer, while the broken yang line, yin, is interpreted as a negative, or yes, no. Okay, I'm going to explain some of these real quick. Okay, so you see on my board here, we have the, let me get over here where I can point to it. We have Kayin, the Labrys, air. We have Kun, the pentacle, earth. We have Kun, or Kon, the chalice, water. We have Li, or Lai, the wand, fire. Kin, the awakening, thunder. Kin, keeping still, mountain. Sun, the gentle wind, wood. Lake, Tui, the joyous daughter. These are the 8 trigrams. A hexagram is a combination of these two, stacked on top of one another. Okay, so we have, let me go back on my notes here. Okay, so we have the sons and the daughters, what's called in I Ching. So these are the sun, the trigrams for the sun up here, the sons and the daughters. Sons represent the principle of movement in its various stages: beginning of movement, danger in movement, rest and completion of movement. Daughters represent devotion in its various stages, gentle penetration and clarity, adaptability and joyous tranquility. And another thing to point out was these trigrams were originally called Bagua. So anyway, go back to that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the hexagrams. So when you do an I Ching reading, you're going to actually have 6 lines, which will be 2 trigrams, one above the other. You always build an I Ching hexagram from the bottom up. And so the bottom normally represents the, let me see if I have it here. Yes, here. The earth, the inner, and the upper 3 lines would represent heaven or external influences. Okay? Okay, so the hexagrams are made up of 6 lines, broken and unbroken, stacked on top of one another, and are read from bottom to top. The lines consist of yang, old yang, yin, and old yin, or changing and unchanging lines. And so, so if you were to pull a reading, and like if you were using the coin method and you got 3 heads, that would be old yang. I mean old yang. But if it was 2 heads and 1 tail, then it would be yang. Okay, and I'll explain that more here in a minute. The hexagrams are made of 2 trigrams which relate to the seasons, the 5 elements, and states of being. When reading the meanings for a hexagram, there's a general overall meaning for the entire structure, as well as an interpretation for the moving lines. Now pay attention to this real close. In reading, only the moving lines are used in interpretation. Non-moving lines serve as structural matter of the hexagram. Okay, so let's say you pulled, I'm just going to use for an example. Let's say you pulled 6 lines and they added to 2, let's say that 2 tuis stacked on top of each other. That would be joy. Okay, so in that case, and let's say none of the lines were changing. So with no changing lines, at that point, it's the meaning of the hexagram that I need to pay attention to. But if they're changing lines, which I'll explain further in a moment, then it's the changing lines that I need to be paying attention to, because it changes the meaning. And so those are what I'm going to be paying attention to. Okay, the mathematical values for the lines are as follows. Okay, and I think I have that down here. 2. Okay, actually, I'm sorry, I got lost. Okay. 2 is yin and yang is 3. Okay? So lines that add up to 6 and 9 are changing, or moving lines, and are moving into their opposite. 7 equals yin and 8 equals yang. the lines move to form another trigram. So once you actually get, or another hexagram. So once you get your reading done, then you can, so I'll explain that here a little bit more in a moment. Okay, the primary methods that I'll be discussing tonight for obtaining an I Ching hexagram are the Yarrow method, which uses 49 Yarrow stocks, and is a very complicated method that I will not be teaching tonight. So let me kind of go back. I talked about, for instance, I talked about building an I Ching. So basically, moving lines are obtained when you have a change. So if I was doing the coin method, for instance, okay, let's say I was doing the coin method. Let me get a pen here, and I threw 2 heads and 1 tail. Okay, my first line is going to be 2 heads and 1 tail. That's going to be a yang. Okay, and the next thing I throw is 3 heads. That's going to be a yin, but yin changing. So I'm going to draw a little arrow there. Then my next line, let's say, is 2 tails, and I'm using just regular coins. Let's say 2 tails and a head. So 2 tails and a head is going to be a yin, but a solid yin. And I'm going to go about that by building the whole trigram that way. I mean the whole hexagram. Hope I'm not making this too complicated, but hopefully I can kind of show you, kind of explain to you how this all works pretty easily. I wanted to explain why I'm not going into the Yarrow method, the oracle, because it's so complicated. Because you start out with a bunch of 50 stalks. Okay, so you select one of the stalks and set it aside, and you're using some yarrow stalks, so you got to find yarrow. And I got some growing in my yard, but it's not ready, and I don't usually use this particular system, and you'll see why. So you start with your 50 stalks, you set one aside, now you only got 49. You take these 49, and you kind of just divide them into 2 stacks. You stack one to the right and one to the left. And so, but you take one stalk from the right hand pile and place it between the ring finger and little finger of your left hand. Now pick up the entire left hand pile with your left hand. At this stage, you would be holding one pile of yarrow sticks in your left hand with a single stalk sticking out between your ring finger and your pinky. And then pretty much the second pile of stalks is still laying to your right. You count 4 stalks from the bundle in your left hand and place them to one side, separate from the other stacks. You do this until there are 4 or fewer stalks left in the bundle in your left hand. You take these last remaining stalks and place them between the ring and middle finger of your left hand. So at this stage, you should have a single stalk between your ring and little finger of your left hand, 4, 3, 2, 1 stalks between the ring and middle finger of that hand, a pile of untouched stalks to your right, and a second pile of discarded stalks somewhere else. So you can see how this is really complicated. You pick up the untouched right hand pile in your left hand. Once again, you count off the stalks by 4s and continue counting until there are 4 fewer stalks in the pile. You place these remaining stalks between the middle and index fingers of your left hand. So I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm kind of reading this, but yeah, this is a very complicated system. You can see if you're very interested in it, there are videos on how to do this. So down here, I kind of have an example of what I was talking about earlier. Okay, so we're going to talk about different methods. Okay, so that's the 49 stalk method. The other method that they use is called the 64 wands. You'd get 64 bamboo wands, and on each one you'll put a hexagram. Now in that oracle there is no changing lines. You shake it all up, you pull one wand, and that's your hexagram. So you have 64 hexagrams with 64 stalks of bamboo. Okay, that is called the wand method. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. So, anytime before you start an oracle reading, anytime you're consulting any oracle, it's always good to set the mood. So, do your banishings, do your relaxation rituals, burn incense, and set the mood. And remember that you're seeking this higher wisdom. And so, anytime you're using these oracles, so we talked about so one of the methods that I have used, and I'm looking for it here. I have it here with me. Excuse me. Uh, is the six wand, the six stick movement. And what I used for this, and I'm going to change my camera a little bit and hope I don't mess everything up because I have hell with this camera. I'm point it down a little bit there. So you see these six wands. I'm going to lay them out here for you. Just make sure you can see them. And what they have is like on one side of each one. Okay, so on one side, you'll have three yangs. These are the yangs, these solid lines that I'm messing with here. I hope you can see them okay. 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 Three yangs, three yins. But you see that arrow? These are old yang, old yin. And the other side, just bear with me here. I have yin and yang. Okay? Now, these are just pretty common craft sticks you can buy at the craft store. You take these, okay? And again, we talk about, I talked about, you always build the hexagram. You shake these up. I'm going to step out of the camera for a minute and shake them up. And then you lay them flat and you draw them. And as you draw them, lay them out from bottom up. Okay. Now I have a hexagram. I have Li on top, and I have, I'm sorry, my mind went real blank here for a minute. I have lightning here, cayenne. So at the basis, but I also have a moving line here. So though the entire interpretation of this is really going to be based on that one moving line. And so when you're interpreting these, it's really good to get a book because there is a couple of translations I'll mention in the end, and kind of that way you can kind of familiarize yourself. It's a very complicated system. It's not something you're going to be that's easily memorized. I'm getting to my I Ching. So this particular hexagram is called biting through. And so on top, like I said, clinging fire, and the lower crown is cayenne or thunder. And the interpretation, you need to cut through to the heart of the situation for you'll succeed. When justice is administered, the situation will tend to turn in your favor. Okay? And so, but the moving line, so this is the third line up. So you go to the third line, so you're going to be using your book for your interpretations because I've been working with I Ching for many years. I know the trigrams, I know what they mean, but sometimes, so the third line moving is old yin. In your attempts to reach the heart of the matter, you're likely to unearth something extremely unpleasant and quite possibly embarrassing. But your action in attempting to bite through to the core remains blameless. So that's kind of from let me show you the book. The Magical I Ching by J.H. Brennan. It's a very simple book. I do recommend it, though. It's some parts of it's kind of chintzy, but there are other translations of the I Ching, but this is the most simple. Okay, so there you see that the overall meaning of the hexagram changes by the lines. Okay, And then if you want to go even further with this, you can change this because it is a changing line, you can change it to its opposite. So it's changing, okay, to yin, okay? And so then you can read the interpretation for that. Again, learning all these different 64 hexagrams is very complicated. Okay, I hope I'm explaining this good. There's also the 8-coin method, which I don't have 8 coins with me this evening. Let me readjust my camera and I'll explain it real quick. It's real easy. Take your notes, okay? So in the 8-coin method, you'll lay down your bagua, okay? And you're going to start right here, okay? And you're going to take 8 coins. Now, the coins that you use for I Ching readings, uh, I have Chinese coins. But later on, I found out that it's probably better to go ahead and use the currency of your country, that which you're most used to, you're most familiar with. Because Chinese coins are hard to tell heads from tails. And not only that, you just need to, you're familiar with the currency you use. And so get 8 coins, preferably new ones. You can get them from the bank. But you're going to take 1 coin, okay, and you're going to mark it somehow, okay? You're just going to mark 1 coin, either with a line or whatever. It doesn't matter, really. And you're going to take and you're going to shake those coins up, and without looking, you're going to lay one here, 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 okay? Okay. Now you look for the coin you marked. Whatever trigram that's on, that's your bottom trigram for your hexagram, okay? Then you take up the coins again and you shake them up. Then you lay them again on the bagua. And then you find the coin that you marked in a special way, see what trigram is marked, and that's your upper. And then you can read the interpretation. Okay? And it's pretty, the I Ching, like I said, it's made up of 8 trigrams. But, the various combinations come to 64 hexagrams. And so if you learn the basic meanings of the trigrams, when they're stacked on top of one another, it's a lot easier to understand them. Okay? Okay. Let me show you. I love this method. I don't use it a lot, to be honest with you, but this is a great little method and easy to make. You can get these little popsicle sticks or tonsors at the craft store and just color them like that. Okay. So again, if in a reading, if you get 3 yangs, it's old yang. And so again, let's go back to the board. I want to go back to the board again. And so here you see you have heads, heads, heads. That's 3 yangs. That's going to be old yang. It's going to equal 9. Okay? Wait. Yeah, because they're 3s. And so if you have 2 heads and 1 tail, this is the coin method again, it's yang. Same thing here, down here with tails. You have old yin and yin. So this is what a changing line is when you're using the coin method. Now, when you're using like the stick method I just showed you, there will be changing lines because you put them in there, but the bagua method will not have changing lines. So I know that seems confusing, but it's not as confusing as it sounds if you start working with the system. Okay, these are Chinese coins. Let me get them out here for you and see if you can even see them. I have more trouble with my camera. I'm not technologically advanced, and I just have hell with it, Just fly buzzing around trying to get rid of it. Now, man, I hope you can see this. Okay. So I have the Chinese coins. These are the ones I learned to use early on. And with Chinese coins, this, can you see it okay? That's the heads. And this and this is the tails, basically, of the coins. If you can see them, okay. Now, in this oracle method, let me do this. Let me get my eraser and erase this off. A lot of people can do some pretty cool stuff with the computers. I'm not that guy. I can pretty much just do what I can. They got a fly bothering me. It will soon be sent into his next incarnation if he keeps messing with me. This summer, flies come out. So let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to cast these coins. Now, I don't know if you can see this okay. Let me do this. Let me figure out how to do this here. Let me twist this around a bit. Okay, so I'm going to cast these coins onto I just shake them and cast them. Now, if you can see this, I have two. Okay, so I have two heads and one tail. Okay, so what is that? That is yang. That is a yang line for my trigram. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to show you the trigram as I write it here in a minute. Okay, so let me pick these coins back up. These gloves give me hell. But I wear the gloves to represent purity of work. I'm also a Freemason. Okay, I'm going to cast the coins again. And this time I've also got two heads and one tail. Again, another yang line, which is a solid line. And you see here that I'm building it right here from the top up. Now back to my coins. Okay. Then I'll this is the method I use most frequently, honestly. It's the easiest method. You can also get a quick yes or no, and I'll show you how to do that. Then I'll shake them up again. I'll cast them. I mean, again, keeping your question firmly in mind, And again, I have two heads, one tail. So that is another yang line. So at the bottom, I have heaven. Okay? Cayenne, the Father. That's at the basis of this situation right now. Okay? Now, I'm going to take the coins again, and I'm going to try to pick them up, and I'll cast them again. Again, keeping your question firmly in mind. Here, I have three heads that have fallen, and I don't know if you can see that okay. Three heads have fallen. Three heads, so that's yang, but with the third, it is old yang. So I'm going to write that like this, with an arrow, signifying, right here I wrote that, signifying as a changing line. And that's how that will actually be interpreted. Okay, then I'll cast them again. So this is how you do it. You're going to cast them 6 times for the coin method. This time I got 2 heads and I got 2 yins and a yang. So this is a yin line, a broken line. Here, broken line. Okay, but it's all, and then again, I'll cast the coins. Again, use the currency that, you can use quarters, dimes, whatever you feel good about. Make them all the same currency. I'll cast again. Okay, I don't know if you can see those. I doubt if you can see them anyway. My camera gives me hell. I have 2 tails, which is yin, and 1 yang. So that is a yin line. So it's kind of interesting. I have, let me go back, put this pin up. Okay. So now I have thunder, kin, over, heaven. So heaven, though, is placed in the realm of what? Earth, or the inner. And kin, which is lightning or thunder, is placed in heaven. The external influences that are influencing me. So this is telling me that's going to be a lot of energy, to do with this particular reading. Okay, so let's go back up to the board. If I can get it back into focus. This gives me hell. And so, again, I would recommend, a good book on the I Ching so you can get your interpretations. And this is the easiest one, but anytime you pick up something to use it, a magician picks up a tool, and there's that fly again, who needs to go into the other world. Anytime a magician doesn't pick up his tool without knowing, all about it. So do study this. I'm giving you a brief introduction tonight, or this evening. It's this evening here. I'd have hell getting this all set up. Again, it's hard for me to do these sometimes. And this, like I told you, this is a very powerful hexagram. It's called power. And the upper trigram again is thunder, and the bottom is heaven or the creative. It's a time of stimulation and creative energy. Okay? But we have a changing line. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth line is a changing line, which changed a lot of the interpretation. What does the fourth line mean? You have the power to break through now if you persevere. Any remorse you may have been feeling will disappear, and there's nothing to stop you achieving good fortune, just so long as you ensure that the foundations of your power are sound. So what did I say earlier? That's what changes the interpretation of this entire hexagram. Okay? And so, again, that's a really good book. I don't have the other ones with me. I intended to bring in the other translations. Okay, so let me see. We talked about the coin method, which is the easiest method and the method I use. Most people I know use that method. The 3-stick method is pretty easy to use. The 8-coin method is very easy to use. Again, like I said, you'll use the bagua for that. And you'll mark 1 coin special. And again, the bagua, it's just a wheel in which things were seen to come into manifestation. And again, Wushu started with heaven, because his was the heavenly arrangement. And this is kind of the physical world arrangement, how things come in here. And each one has the yin and yang, showing how opposites bring all things into manifestation. Without opposites, without light and dark, there is no manifestation. Also seen in the checkered pavement of King Solomon's temple on the Masonic rug. It's the friction of opposites that keeps the wheel spinning. Okay. All right, let me think. Let me go back over here. And so, and also the use of the trigrams or the hexagrams of magic is well documented, because the I Ching, the I Ching, which is the book, was originally considered a book of magic. You can use them as sigils. You can put hexagrams on things and charge them. There's so many various things that you can do with these things, besides just seeking them as an oracle. Again, I believe they're, for me, okay, so let's say I just want a yes or no answer, okay? Here it is, I'm, in a hurry. I don't have time to be sitting around consulting a lot of stuff, consulting a lot of oracles or anything like that, or, doing a big spread on the tarot. I need yes or no right now, right? So I'm going to use my 3 coins for that. Now I can use, the stick methods, but the 3 coins are the easiest for this type of method. So let's say, will I hit the lottery tomorrow? No. Oh, look at there. 2 yin, 2 yins, and a yang. Okay, so that is a negative answer. Okay? Negative meaning no. Okay, well, I'll be going back to work. All right, I'm an old man too. So, and then so again, and you ask another question. I'm not going to ask a question this time. And then you cast. And then I have 2 yins and a yang. That's a negative answer. So if you have 2 yangs and a yin, that's a yang. That's a positive, okay? But if you have 3 yangs, that's old yang, that's changing. So if I ask a question and it gives me that yang, that's a yes, but hey, you know what? Not right now. It's changing. You better re-ask later on. Okay? Okay, so I think I pretty much went over the methods that I wanted to go over this evening. And like I said, I hope I'm not boring everybody too much with this. And hopefully you're learning, pretty much uh, what you need to know to get started. Again, I'm going to do some summary here. Here in the corner, you see yang and old yang, yin and old yin. And some people put a circle there. Kayin, the three solid lines, is the father. Kun, kun is the mother. The union of these gives birth to the sons and the daughters. They can also, these four trigrams can represent the 4 seasons of the year. And that comes up a lot. You'll be doing a reading and asking, and they will say change is coming in autumn or change is coming in the summer. And so again, many, if you ever studied the I Ching, if you ever actually cracked the book, oh my God, like you'll open some of these, you'll be looking for the interpretation of a hexagram you pulled. Say the yellow horse will come from the east, and the king will be proud. Okay, well, what does that mean? So this is a very, the meanings when you're looking at it, but I do recommend the study of the I Ching. And some of the good translations are Crowley's, James Legis, Wilhelm's, and J.H. Brennan that I showed you a minute ago. The Holy Book again is Liber 27, the Trigrammaton, which has some pretty cool interpretations. Again, the I Ching is a system of divination and magic that uses the concept of binary mathematics, the concept of all, in Chinese philosophy, like I said, all things are change. Nothing is stable. We talked about that in the Wheel of Fortune card, right? So life is a series of events and changes. If changes cease to be, the wheel would stop. The wheel is driven by the actions of the opposites upon one another. If you ever get a chance to study feng shui is kind of an art of arranging your environment according to the principles of the I Ching. And again, so online you can get a diagram, and this is the Hutain Bagua is the most commonly used in feng shui. And again, you would lay it out so that this faces the north of your front door. And then you have these the various parts of your home. And the various parts of your home, I'm not going to go into feng shui tonight, relate to various aspects of your life. And so you can go in and put different mirrors and different plants and various scents to strengthen that area of your home. Okay, let me see if there's anything else I forgot to go over. I'm going over my notes right now. You have to excuse me. It's been kind of a rough start today. So I just want to see if there's anything I need to go back over. Again, the history is kind of boring. And I want to just go over the trigrams one more time as a summary. We have Kain, the father, heaven, day, midsummer. We have Kun, mother, earth, night, yielding, nourishment, early autumn. We have Kin. Wait a minute. That is not Kin. Wait a minute. These are not in order like I thought I did. Had them in. So Tui is the joyful lake. The youngest daughter, lake, fullness, joyful rain, and late autumn. Li is the middle daughter. It's the sun, lightning, and midsummer. Soon is the oldest daughter, wind, wood, gentle, gradual, early summer. Kin, here, the middle sun, water, moon, danger, abyss, cloudy, and midwinter. Kin here. The oldest son, thunder, active, exciting, earthquake, spring. And again, Kun is the mother, and Kayin is the father, heaven. There was something else I just thought about that I wanted to mention. And so, like I said, we build these hexagrams from the bottom up. Man, I can't remember what it was. It just slipped my mind when I was going through that. But anyway, I hope this helped you give you an overall overall understanding of the I Ching, its origins, and its use. I hope this video was helpful to you. I think my next video, I'm not sure, will be on Thelemic astrology and the finding of the holy guardian angels, or the reading of astrology and your chart, your birth chart. But I'm not really sure. I'm still looking at that. But for now, I'm going to call this class done, or this talk done. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you have anything that you would like me to do a talk on, please leave that in the comments. I will respond. And please like this video if you like it. And again, 93, this is Qesheth.